unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Hey, yay, hey, yay. We are all gathered here to discuss a debate. One in which Golden Boy has triumphantly triumphed over Vergil Ortiz Jr. And it is time for your boy Ego to get unpacked. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, I made a video breaking the news. This video will be different. We got to unpack some different things. In case you missed it, you should check that video out because it focuses on what happened. Oscar de la Hoya, I do believe he makes a strong case to be, but eventually, Vergil, he must fight with Golden Boy, right? Oscar de la Hoya got his way. The boy got his fixin'. He got his fix, right? He told y'all that the Golden Boy pockets is looking proper, but y'all didn't want to listen. Your boy Ego told y'all, but again, y'all didn't want to listen. And y'all got your hopes up. So I'm going to say this quick PSA, and then I'll carry on with this video, and I'll get unpacked. You can believe me, the guy that keeps getting it right in boxing, the sheer preponderance of evidence that I show in my videos, right? That eventually over time are proven to be right. Believe that guy, or you could believe the low quality content that is available in the boxing space. But I warn you, are you going to believe the guy who keeps getting it right? Or are you going to believe the people, the content creators, the platforms that keep getting it wrong? That lied and said, oh, Boots is fighting Vergil Ortiz, is going down, right? So it don't really matter to me. I'm still going to get paid. But I'm doing a follow-up video. And I think if I were you, I would trust the person who's been smack dab on the money. Not like, if you notice on my channel, there's no video from Boxingego saying Vergil Ortiz and Jaron Ennis are fighting. It's official. I don't have one video on my channel because I never believed that the fight was a go. And now we see it was rightfully so. So believe what you want, get bent. If you don't want to believe me, kick rocks, get bent, I don't care. Now, moving on. Oscar de la Hoya got an injunction, which means basically the judge in Nevada seen things his way and believed that there was cause to order an arbitration, which further prolongs this rift between, I do believe, Golden Boy and Oscar and Vergil Ortiz, Rick Mirigan, right? So I think it's safe to say that the Vergil Ortiz fight is likely not going to happen next. Now, again, back to what I just said to open the video, my PSA. There's people in my last video, they're trying to argue. I'm not going back and forth with y'all. In my opinion, I've been doing this at a high level. Everything I've said about this case so far has been right. I don't believe the Boots fight will be next. Again, you got fans and man fans. They're like, oh, Ego, what are you talking about? The fight can still happen. Okay, hold your breath until that fight happens. How about that? and we'll see who's blue in the face. I'm not holding my breath that the fight happens next. So if you believe it's going to happen next, Merry Christmas. I don't. So again, you can believe me, the person who keep getting it right, or you can believe them. Choice is yours. Now, the reason I don't believe the fight will happen next is because Vergil and his manager, Rick Mirigan, they went G-Money from New Jack City and try to cut a side deal and completely leave Oscar De La Hoya, which we'll get into, in the dust, and then go team up with Eddie Hearn and do some, upwards of $10-20 million deal, a 3-fight deal with Eddie Hearn. And that would leave Oscar De La Hoya unpaid. The judge put a stop to all that. It's over now. Because now you have to have an arbitration and a mediation to sort this out, and both people get to argue their sides. That's what it is. And in typical ego fashion, to solidify my greatness, I don't just talk about it. I'm showing you receipts. This is the actual signed paperwork from the judge, Christina Silva. Y'all see that, right? This is the United States District Judge, dated March 2nd, yesterday, right? So I got the receipts. I got the full response from the judge. It says, I also grant Golden Boy's request for an interim injunction relief to allow for a meaningful arbitration. So I hereby order that Vergil Ortiz may not negotiate or contract with third parties for future fights before the arbitrator addresses the parties' dispute set forth in this action. Meaning, you can't move forward with a 3-fight deal with Eddie Hearn. So again, for the people who think I'm wrong, even though I keep getting it right, I'm asking you, what makes you believe that this fight happens next? It's been a horrific up and down roller coaster type of ride this far. I'll liken it because most of you guys, everybody has to eat food to live, right? So I'll use a food analogy. How many bites of a burrito, do you need to eat before you decipher that the burrito is trash? Let me know in the comment section. Because I'm saying two bites of the burrito, 3 at max. First bite, maybe you get a little too much tortilla. You know what I mean? You got mostly rice and beans. You couldn't really taste the protein, the chicken or the barbacoa, carnita. Okay, so the first bite, maybe. But by the second bite, you can tell if the burrito's good or not. And definitely by the third bite, you gonna know if that burrito is delicious or not. And I'm from California, so we got probably the best burritos outside of Mexico. Argue with your mama. Bro, in the Bay Area and down south in LA, California in general, we got the best burritos, West Side. Anywho, so how many things have to fail with this particular fight for y'all to get the picture? Y'all still holding out hope. This is why boxing fans keep getting, taken for a ride. They be like, oh, Ego, you're wrong. The fight could still happen. Yeah. All right. You wait for it to happen. Because here's the thing. How is the fight going to happen when the judge just ruled how she did? Check out my first video that goes over that. And Golden Boy was not a part of these negotiations. So whatever terms, whatever contract, they were trying to cut Golden Boy out, which I told you was going to be a problem. So I'm asking you, what part of the game is that? And what makes you think the fight can happen when Golden Boy was not a party to the negotiations to even get this 3-fight deal? They were trying to cut them out and do a fight with Matchroom only. You know what I mean? And have him sign. And now they got to go through the legal process. So Golden Boy, they won the first battle. This is a terrible look for Rick Mirigan and a terrible look for Vergil Ortiz. You thought you had something, and now it is at the very least is pushed back. Because let's talk about it. Why would Eddie Hearn? He already lost Conor Ben. Anthony Joshua got in a horrific accident, so we don't really know when he's going to return. And it's not like Joshua can come back, even if he wants to come back in the summer. Tyson Fury got another fight already on Netflix. So we have to see how that play out. You dig? So Joshua losing Conor Ben, AJ is like out of commission right now. You know what I mean? And even if he came back, he don't really have any big fights outside of Tyson Fury. Wilder got a fight coming up. So, you know what I mean? He going to have to wait. Usyk got a fight. Wilder got a fight. Tyson got a fight. So, who's his big fight? Ben Whitaker, you're still developing him. So, I don't really see a big fight, him being in the big fight right now. So, his guy is probably Jaron Ennis. So, why would you stagnate his career? This could take months, maybe even a year, 8 months to a year, 6 months. I don't know. I'm not the court system. I ain't passed the bar, but I know a little bit enough that you won't illegally search my, right? But I do know what I know, and I know that the two sides don't agree. There's been a strain. The relationship is fractured. So, again, how are you just going to figure that out overnight? Because my logic is this. If you could easily and amicably figure it out, then it wouldn't have led to you suing and Oscar countersuing. If you guys were on the same page, then why is Vergil suing Golden Boy? Why is Golden Boy suing the manager? So obviously there's some real deal issues that gotta be hashed out. So again, you can hold your breath that the Boots and Eddie Hearn wait, but why would they wait? And then as far as Golden Boy, some people are like, oh, ego. But as long as Golden Boy is involved, then the fight can still happen next. Okay. The fight can happen next, but they got an arbitration. We don't know Golden Boy's current role because, like, if let's say I'm Oscar De La Hoya, I don't want a deal that somebody else did behind my back, and then I want to push that deal through. Like, what are we talking about, bro? Just out of spite, if it were me, if I was Oscar, if I was De La Hoya, the fact that you went behind my back, try to cut me out and make money with other people, and then now I got this interim injunction relief, right? I'm ex-naying any deal that happened behind my back. Why would I agree to terms that Rick Mirigan, who's the manager, not the promoter, negotiated with Eddie Hearn? Like venue, salary split, 3-fight deal. Like none of it makes sense anymore. Get it through your head. None of it makes sense. The only way this would have made sense if the restraining order got dissolved and dismissed and that Judge Silva was like, yo, Vergil Ortiz, do whatever you... I don't know why I'm talking like Ice-T. Yo, Vergil Ortiz, you can do whatever you want, kid. You know what I mean? Like, that would be the only way this works, is if the judge said, you're free to move and go on and sign with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom and do this fight with Boots, period. Because then there would be no leash. They would have pretty much sided with him that he's a free agent. But now that there's an arbitration, get it out your head. And in boxing fans, you guys are emotional. I told you this was coming. I put that on anything. The videos are still up. Go look at them. Type in Vergil Ortiz, Oscar lawsuit. I'm on Google in Boxingego. Put that in your keyword search. You'll find all the videos where I'm like, hey, this look kind of weird. I feel Oscar De La Hoya. I understand where he's coming up. And I ain't never made no video talking about the fight was next because there was too much drama for me to believe that the fight was next. And that's what I'm telling y'all. Y'all letting people clickbait y'all and say whatever, and then got the audacity to come to my channel and act like what I'm saying ain't cooking. I told you Oscar had a real life point. Y'all didn't want to believe me? That's on you. Now, we got to revisit what Oscar said because he warned Vergil Ortiz. He warned the manager. And Boxingego warned y'all. Y'all didn't want to listen. And now it's gotten out of hand.
Yo, what's up, guys? Happy New Year, man. I've been busy this week finalizing the Ryan Garcia-Barrios fight, and details will be announced on Monday. I'm really excited to be working with PBC and Al Heyman. Look, we have a lot of great matchups to be made as the U.S. top promoters, so I'm looking to keep the fights here in the U.S. In the meantime, Eddie Hearn is begging the media for this Boots and Vergil Ortiz fight. It's so stupid as a promoter to pigeonhole your fighter into one opponent. You lose your negotiating power, which ends up being a lot of lost money for your fighter. Also, every time a manager tries to be a hero and negotiate behind the promoter's back, they lose money for the fighter. And at the same time, violate the Muhammad Ali Act. And you know what? I'm gonna start sending legal letters enforcing this because I'm fucking tired of it. Some managers are just full of shit and I will be exposing them, trust me.
Boom. I try to tell y'all, Oscar was out here cooking. He warned you. I warned you. It says, stop trying to be a hero and stay in your lane, Rick Mirigan. Let me do my job and get the most money for Vergil Ortiz. This was 6 weeks ago. So Boxingego was making these videos and covering this whole thing. Our lawyers have made it clear you don't negotiate for Vergil Ortiz fights. I do, Rick Mirigan. While you run your mouth, I'm the one actually fighting to have Vergil as the A side and get the maximum possible for this fight. I'm negotiating with Eddie Hearn and DAZN to make this fight happen. I'll continue to fight for Vergil in those negotiations. You need to get out the way. The fans said, oh, Ego, you're wrong. Oh, Oscar De La Hoya is wrong. Oh, Oscar De La Hoya is hating because he's scared to make the fight. Bro, what part of this don't you understand? I feel like Chris Tucker in Rush Hour. No. You put your own ish in the bag. I'm not a sky cap. I'm Detective James Carter, LAPD. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? What can I make any clearer? They were trying to gaffle Oscar De La Hoya. Go in, gaffle the money, and run to one of your aunt's cribs and borrow a dang dress and one of her blonde wigs. Tell her you need a place to stay. You'll be safe for days if you shave your legs with Renee's razor blades. Bro, what I gotta say it like Marshall Mathers? I gotta say it like Slim Shady? That's nonsense. Go in and gaffle the money and run to one of your aunt's cribs and borrow a dang Bro, they were trying to go in and gaffle the money. They were trying to make the fight with Eddie Hearn. Leave Golden Boy in the dust. So the manager, who was never the promoter, was like, I have Vergil's best interest in mind. And he overstepped his boundary, and then they tried to cut the promoter out the deal because they don't like the way the promoter is handling business, right? And there's some more aspects. Stay tuned to the end of this video. They didn't like how he was running it. So I told you, it was one of those situations where everybody thinks they can do what you do until it's time to do it, right? Like, I do YouTube. I've gotten it for years. People are like, oh, Ego, he just sit there with glasses on and the beanie and make videos. I could do that. Bro, there's much more to it. Because one, you can try to do this. Your voice ain't going to be as powerful as mine. Your speech is not going to be on point. I know how to speak publicly. I have a great vocabulary, right? I know how to enunciate. My vernacular is top notch. right? So if you don't have those things, you can't match what I do. I know you ain't got the quality like me. You see that? So I got the quality, I got the audio quality, the visual quality, the public speaking, the knowledge of the game. What I'm saying is actually happening. I'm not clickbaiting. So it is more to it. Same thing with Rick. You know, he like, I want to get Vergil a $20 million deal and look what I did. But now you've been stifled because the judge ruled in Golden Boy's favor, and now y'all got to hash it out. Now there's bad blood. So Oscar was cooking. He said managers out here trying to be heroes. And guess what? Now that you did this, now Vergil Ortiz is sidelined even longer than need be because he beat Erickson Lubin, and he could have rolled into whatever his next fight was going to be, including but not limited to Jaron Ennis. But now if there's a legal battle with lawsuits and arbitrations and TROs, that man will be out of the ring most likely unless they drop it and come to terms and everybody, you know, plays nicely. But then if you do that, then Golden Boy won again because now you were suing someone. How you sue and then retract it? You must not believe in your case. So either way, this is a bad look for Vergil Ortiz. And there's so many fans and content creators. They're trying to spin this like, oh, Jaron Ennis was ducked at 147 and now he's being ducked at 54. This is not an issue of being ducked. Not this. This is business. And I feel like most fans are so emotional and content creators that they just want to see the fight, so it overrules everything. That's not how life works. I told you from the jump, if I was in this situation and I was Golden Boy, I would be ticked off too. I'll be fighting for this too. Because you're trying to take my fighter and take him somewhere else. Golden Boy pretty much built him up. The only reason you know who Vergil Ortiz is because he could fight, but also because he was promoted with Golden Boy. And now you're just trying to leave and you might not have causeway to actually leave. That I told you from the jump. That's a solid argument from Golden Boy. Now, it's unfortunate if you're looking forward to the Boots fight, but this is part of the business. And for me, more so than blaming De La Hoya, you need to blame Vergil Ortiz and Rick Mirigan, the manager. Here's why. Because De La Hoya warned you that the contract is not void as you're stating, which, again, we'll get into. He said, stop trying to be a hero, Rick Mirigan. While you running your mouth, I'm trying to get stuff cracking and get Vergil Ortiz paid. And then you went AWOL and started negotiating with Zuffa, and you started negotiating with Eddie Hearn and just continuing on like what part of the game? I told y'all from the beginning. That's why I keep saying I told y'all. I don't have nothing else to say. If you remember, type I remember in the comment section. The reality is you're just trying to mosey along like you're fully out of your contract. And I told you that you should, if that's your stance, you have to make 100% clear that you're in the clear, right? You have to make, without a shadow of a doubt, when Oscar started saying, hey, that's incorrect, look at the language. The contract is not over. It is not null and void. At that point, you would have to start, and this is what a great legal team will give you. They know how to read the contracts and the legalese, and they'll let you know, like, okay, you're probably overstepping it. You know what I mean? A judge might see it their way, the Golden Boy way. So at that exact moment, there shouldn't have ever been negotiations with Eddie Hearn to fight Boots, because you did it without fully being detached from your actual promoter, Golden Boy Promotions, and you thought that was he was just gonna eat it? Like the Conor Benn situation, people are saying, oh, it was disloyal. But clearly, after Chris Eubank Jr. rematch, he was a free agent. And Zuffa and Dana White in Turkey threw a bag at him, so he was available to accept that deal. So there are times where it can happen, where you betray your promoter or whatever, but you had better be in a Conor Benn situation where Eddie Hearn could be like, oh, mate, I'm gutted because I didn't see this come in and all that. But he can't do nothing because Zuffa didn't break any laws. They didn't, do something that was against the rules. He was technically a free agent and they signed him. But with the Vergil situation, it had never really been distinguished and established if Vergil Ortiz was true. Because in December, I think it was, Vergil's team was talking about, we love it at Golden Boy and everything is good. And we love the way they're moving it. So all of a sudden, things changed in a couple months. You know what I mean? You did the Lubin fight. When Ryan was mad at Golden Boy, he let it be known at the press conference. There was no indication that Vergil Ortiz or Vergil Ortiz's daddy or Rick Mirigan or any of them were upset in the Lubin promotion. There was no public dispute or debacle or anything that would lead anybody to believe that they were dissatisfied with their current circumstance and situation with Golden Boy. So that's why this news was shocking to people, and it came out of left field, probably even Golden Boy, because they're like, hold on, I thought everything was cool. How you gonna do a side deal with Eddie Hearn and betray us and try to move on and run along like we don't have you under contract? So yeah, this is a bad look for Vergil, his dad, and Rick Mirigan, because again, if you wanted to do this, you had better make sure that you are truly in the clear and able to do what you're trying to do. And given the fact that Golden Boy got the temporary restraining order, check. So that stopped the fight from being announced publicly and officially, right? Then the Golden Boy just won big with yesterday's ruling from Judge Silva, where they said, hey, y'all got to argue this out in the arbitration. And in the interim, I hereby order Golden Boy's motion to compel arbitration and an interim injunction relief, ECF number 7, is granted. You see that? I'm showing you receipts. The action is stayed depending arbitration. So pretty much until they figure this out in the arbitration, Vergil Ortiz is cooked. Because I am granting the interim injunction relief, the parties are required to file a joint notice with the court on September 2nd, advising the status. So I keep telling y'all I'm the best in the business. Bro, September 2nd, we just got to March. You ain't even try to compare body count. I'm out of hands. Bro, September 2nd, I'm showing you the receipts. It's like yesterday was March 2nd, right? When this was ruled. So we're not even in the summer. September is like the fall. So we talking about April, May, June, July, August. That's 6 months, bro. So they got to file and pretty much advise the court of where they're at with the arbitration within 6 months. So that's going on record that the time frame pretty much that the court estimates that this could be 6 months. So what does that mean for Vergil Ortiz? The boy is on ice. Glacius. How isn't he? You know what I mean? It literally says he cannot negotiate with third parties like Zuffa, Eddie Hearn, until this is resolved. And September 2nd, they got to notify the arbitration proceedings, like pretty much what happened. What was the arbitrator's decision? So now both sides are going to have to keep arguing their point and arguing their side and then come to terms. And then I guess the arbitrator maybe makes the final call or whatever. And then you got to notify the court. So while the manager thought he was doing right by Vergil Ortiz, now you've potentially put him out for, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months, a year. You can have a baby in that time, 9 months. You know what I mean? And Oscar told you, you better stay in your lane. And like, you going against the Golden Boy, he's a former fighter. He's been a longtime promoter. His pockets is fat. You know what I mean? So like, I'm sure he got good legal representation. If you were Oscar De La Hoya, where you were a fighter turned promoter and you've been in the industry 30 plus years or whatever, I'm sure you know some people that know some people. And he live in Vegas, right? And I don't know what happens in the arbitration because it hasn't happened. But so far, everything that Golden Boy wanted to prevent the Boots fight from being announced without their participation, every single thing they got. So far, Golden Boy's up. Like, they got the TRO, temporary restraining order, and then they got the injunction. So right now, they like 2-0 versus Vergil Ortiz. What has Vergil Ortiz's side accomplished? And what makes it look really bad is the morning of Vergil Ortiz's team, it was reported that they filed an emergency motion for the court battle, right? And I'm not going to read this whole thing, but more than 9 days have passed since the hearing. And basically, Ortiz's lawyer, Gregory Smith, argued in court, obtained by Uncrowned. In early 2026, Ortiz was close to signing a professional agreement for Jaron Ennis April 18th, right? In the time that the court issued the temporary restraining order, including within the last weekend, Boots Ennis's promoter, Eddie Hearn, confirmed that Boots was still interested in a bout against Ortiz. However, he cautioned that there were other potential opponents for Boots Ennis and that further delay beyond the few. So this right now, again, only Ego is showing you all the receipts. This is from Vergil Ortiz's lawyer, right? Boots cautioned that further delay beyond the next few days in signing the Boots Ennis bout could cause Boots Ennis to move on. So again, you guys keep telling me I don't know what I'm talking about and I'm not well researched and the fight can still happen next. But if Eddie Hearn was already warning Vergil Ortiz's side and then they did a desperation plea and then it got pretty much rejected because while they're doing this emergency, they wanted an emergency release of the TRO, the judge actually came forth with a ruling and said, no, don't worry about the TRO. We got this interim injunction on you. We put you in the injunction. Ortiz argues that time is running out for him to sign a lucrative bout against Jaron Ennis. And Ortiz is being denied an opportunity to take part in an Ennis fight, and it could cause irreparable harm, according to the court documents. So they did a Hail Mary. This team looks rookie. This is amateur night, bro. This is amateur night. Listen again. The day Vergil Ortiz's team filed an emergency motion, like, hey, time's running out, Boots' team is getting impatient and they're going to move on if we don't get back to them in a few days. Literally the same day, 10 hours later or whatever, we hear back from the judge who says they got to go to arbitration and follow back up with the courts by September, which is 6 months out. So again, You guys can keep telling me I don't know what I'm talking about, but we'll see. So, yeah, the fight is cooked. As far as I'm concerned, the fight is cooked. The fight is cooked as far as happening next. Because how do you even get, if you're at where you're at, pending lawsuits, pending arbitration, De La Hoya's posting this, justice prevails. And he tagged Vergil Ortiz, DAZN, Rick Mirigan, and Matchroom Boxing. Bro, he cooked y'all. He cooked y'all point blank, period, straight up. And the funny thing is, Rick Mirigan keep posting on social media. He posts a lot. I want to see. I'm gonna check right now to see if he posted anything after getting slaughtered by De La Hoya's lawyers. All right, I'm on his page right now. Okay, look, he ain't posting all of a sudden. You see that? 19 hours ago, he got one story. He got one story, but he was doing videos and he was putting up I've been following this whole thing. I've been following the whole joint. He was putting up posts like, we shall see when the dust settles. And he was sounding cocky, like he knew that everything was going to go in his favor. And he was putting up like quotes, being hated by idiots is the price you pay for not being one. And he was feeling himself. I was watching it, right? And he was like, we'll see what the judge say, kind of attitude with a bit of chagrin. Imagine if the fight took place, how big would it be? Blah, blah, blah. Right? So you thought you had your fight. You thought you had your fight or a deal on Dead Homies, but you don't. And now your fighter is doing desperation moves, putting in emergency motions that get overruled by an injunction. Now, this is from the initial lawsuit, and part of what DAZN, they tried to dogpile Golden Boy, and it actually hurt them, right? Golden Boy and DAZN have been discussing terms for a new contract, right? To date, Golden Boy and DAZN have not agreed to final terms. Again, I went over this in the past video. Mr. Ortiz was negotiating and close to an agreement with Matchroom Boxing for the Boots fight on April 18th to air on DAZN. Look, DAZN remains open to seeking to agree and enter a long-term distribution agreement with Golden Boy Promotions on commercially reasonable terms, whether or not Golden Boy has Vergil Ortiz under contract. So this was signed by the head of DAZN in London, UK, Edward McCarthy. Bro, you saying that cooked yourself. You were trying to co-sign to get the fight for Eddie Hearn, a fellow Brit, and push this Boots fight through. But you cooked yourself because you admitted that DAZN is still trying to work with Golden Boy on a distribution agreement. And the language in the contract that seen Vergil Ortiz could be a free agent was loosely written, and it pretty much stated that if the relationship changes with DAZN, then and only then Vergil Ortiz may be granted freedom and become a free agent. But you don't have that angle when you got the COO of DAZN, Edward McCarthy, and he's literally telling you, hey, we're still working with Golden Boy and we're doing one-offs. This is why they tell you to shut the up. And he said this under penalty and perjury. It literally says that in the court documents, right? So you can't change, oh, I misspoke. No, you said and swore under oath, under penalty and perjury, that this was the truth. So now you're cooked. Now you're cooked. You would have been better. You fumbled. You would have been better not saying that and then being like, hey, our contract with Golden Boy expired December 31st. We don't know what he's finna do. We don't want him. Because if you should have said nothing for real. But if you at least said that, maybe it gives a clear path for Vergil to use the loophole that he was trying to use. Rookies, bro. Straight up rookies. So I told you it's much deeper than, oh, he's ducking Boots and Oscar want him to duck. No. I'm always going to speak up for what's right. I'm always going to speak up for what's right. And Golden Boy was getting shafted, and good on them. The people that help make you pop, you were about to have a big fight, and you were about to cut him out the equation. So it's business. I understand that. And if you understand the business, you should too. So that is a full breakdown, because I see so many like fans in the comment section like, oh man, Oscar, he's bad for boxing. He's ruining bro. No. If you take something from me illegally, then it's going to be a problem. You thought Vergil Ortiz, I don't know, had the green light to leave and do whatever he want. And then now there's more to the story, according to Golden Boy, which they're going to have to continue this in an arbitration. That's a fair and valid point. You know, now, again, I understand boxing fans wanted to see Boots and Vergil Ortiz, but you gotta make these fights, and you gotta make it, and you gotta do it legally. you understand what I'm saying? Like, you can't do something illegal and then get mad. Like, if I go into the mall and steal a bunch of stuff, and then the store want to prosecute me, and I got to return the items, like, would you thought they were going to let you keep it? You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't do wrong, do the foul, and then get mad when it don't work out. And that's what fans are doing. Fans seen all, like, the bottom line is, I told you from the beginning, it was very sketch if Vergil Ortiz was in the clear as a free agent. He tried it. His manager tried it, and they thought they had a strong case. But now we're starting to see their case wasn't as strong as they thought it was, and Golden Boy's fighting back to secure what they believe to be, you know, they got dibs or rights on Vergil Ortiz's fights. That's fair game to me. You know what I mean? Again, if you steal from the store and you mad because you got caught and they're making you return the stuff, you try to steal Vergil Ortiz and take him to Eddie Hearn and get a finder's fee and get clout and be like, yo, Golden Boy didn't do this. I got him a Boots fight, right? I got him a Boots fight, and I got him a 3-fight deal, and I got him $20 million. That's why Oscar said, stop trying to be a hero. And the whole thing was stupid because the fight would have been April 18th in Vegas, the same day as WrestleMania. These people are like brain dead. Why would you put Boots in? First of all, I told you from jump. Another thing I got right. I'm going to keep saying I got it right. Ain't nobody going to stop me. Another thing I got right. WrestleMania, the same day. That shows me these people don't know the American market. You kind of need Golden Boy, because why on earth would you stage a fight the same day as WrestleMania in the same city? Don't even make sense. I told you, Vergil Ortiz and Boots, that's a good fight for boxing fans. These dudes aren't Mayweather Pacquiao. They're not known like that. I got homies that loosely watch boxing. They know Tank. They know Floyd. They don't know Pacquiao. They don't know Canelo. You know what I mean? They don't know no Boots and Vergil Ortiz. It's really not that big of a fight. And I'm not saying it from my perspective because I watch everything. I got the ego eye, aka the eagle eye. You know what I mean? So I know my boxing. It's a cool little fight for boxing heads. That's it. This ain't no like remarkable fight that transcends more than just immediate boxing fans at all. So for real, they really need to get their brand up both of them. And then the fight can marinate and kind of be a bigger fight. But here's an example. If Tyson Fury fought Anthony Joshua, or Anthony Joshua fought Wilder, Floyd Mayweather is getting ready to fight against Manny Pacquiao, right? And let's say Ryan Garcia fought Devin Haney, and then Vergil Ortiz fought Boots. If all those fights happen on the same exact night, what would do the lowest viewership? Ask yourself that. Once again, Maypac 2, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney 2. Again, you're talking about sequels. You're talking about rematches. So Maypac 2, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney 2, Tyson Fury, AJ, or Wilder, AJ. And all those fights were happening on the same night as Vergil Ortiz, Boots. I don't think Boots would be the biggest fight. Now, again, some people are going to argue because they want me to be wrong so bad, even though I keep getting it right. Like, oh, nobody wants to see Mayweather and Pacquiao. They're old men and elder. Bro, I don't care nothing about that. You don't know what you're talking about. That fight is going on Netflix. Boots and Vergil Ortiz was going to be on DAZN. Netflix is already bigger. Netflix is bigger. I don't even think Netflix would even want Boots and Vergil Ortiz. They're working with Tyson Fury because he had a Netflix show. So they already did business with Tyson Fury. You know what I mean? They're working with Canelo when he fought Crawford. They're working with Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. They looking at novelty fights, right? So we're talking about different things. So again, take your emotions out of it and listen to what I'm saying. Mayweather-Pacquiao 2 is a bigger fight than, I don't care if they're 1,000 years old. It's a bigger fight because they're bigger brands. Ask your friend that don't watch boxing all the time if they know who Floyd Mayweather is. And then ask them if they know who Jaron Boots Ennis is. Ask that same friend or your mom. You know what I mean? Ask a mom or a sister that don't really watch boxing if they know who Manny Pacquiao is. And then ask them if they know who Vergil Ortiz is. And then, just to make sure they're not lying and saying, oh, I know, tell them to name 3 Vergil Ortiz fights. Okay. Tell them to name 3 Jaron Boots Ennis fights. Okay. And then we'll really see if they know. Tell them to do a police lineup and have 5 Philly black dudes. Julian J. Rock Williams, Breadman, Jaron Ennis, and Meek Mill, whoever, right? And then see if they could point out who Boots is. See if they could point out, get 5 Mexican cuz, and then see if they could point out Vergil Ortiz. Bro, I'm trying to tell y'all, I told y'all from the beginning, it's not even that big of a fight. So doing all this suing and stuff, this was already doing too much. It's a cool little fight for boxing heads. This ain't no fight that transcends boxing and will get casual. It ain't like Mayweather, Canelo, Mayweather, De La Hoya, Mayweather, Conor McGregor, where you're just pulling in fans from all over. People that don't typically watch boxing going to be worried about that. It ain't even that type of fight. So, yeah, going against the grain, going against your promoter, you did all that, and now you're a fighter not getting the Boots fight next as far as I'm concerned. If I'm wrong, which I won't be, I'll make a follow-up video. And, now you just sideline them even longer, trying to do a side deal that excluded Golden Boy when you didn't have the clear runway and a real green light. You thought you had a green light, but it was really a yellow light that turned red. So let me know how I did in the video. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. I know I was cooking. I gave y'all a show. If you like that, use my link, me, follow the movement. Listen, I don't follow the headlines. I make it. We Unpacked. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I could provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself. Especially if you're new, but even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate, so ultimately you can realize all of your online goals. Use my affiliate link in the description and grow your channel fast.